Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. You can hear me, but can you hear me on the phone? Hare Hare, Radha Madhava, Kunja Vihari, Jai Radha Madhava, Kunja Vihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha, Girivaradhari, Gopi Jana Vallabha, Girivaradhari, Kishoranandana, Vrajajana Ranjana. My Facebook, that's my website. Vrajajana Ranjana, Kishoranandana, Vrajajana Ranjana. Yeah. Suranandana. Oh, that's another day.
Yeah.
You want to get live. Where's live?
Well, it's not coming.
It's live, people are watching. Can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. Hare Krishna. Strange, right? Should be up here. What's my Krishna Krishna Hare? Can you hear me? Let me know yes or no. Kubeja lava lava girivaradhari, Kubeja lava lava girivaradhari, Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Ranjana, Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari, Radha Madhava, Sisi Radha Madhava ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, what are we doing tonight? Japa? What was advertised tonight? Japa? Japa. Can we move that out of the way? So tonight we'll do some philosophy. Japa philosophy, holy name philosophy.
Deepening your relationships with the Holy Name. I've been given Monday, evening and Tuesday.
Okay. So that's what we're doing. Your relationship. Your relationship with the holy name. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanam Jana Shalakaya Chaksuramilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Shayam Rupa Gadamayam Tadati Shapadantikam Panchakapatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Let's move it out here a little bit. Oops. Pull it out a little more. This way. Yeah, it's better. So I'm going to read some things, general things that Bhaktivinoda Thakura said about the holy name. Some general philosophy. It'll cover many topics. And tomorrow we'll do more practical. So we'll satisfy those who want to practically improve their japa and those who just want to know about japa but may not want to improve it. That was a joke. Sometimes you just want to learn but you don't want to do anything. But learning is interesting. doing is like, it takes work. You know. But learning, you just sit back and, you know, gain information, which is interesting, isn't it? Sometimes. You know? So this is interesting information. Not that this information won't help you, but of course, if you don't apply it, it won't do much. So this is in the form of questions. The Bhaktivinoda Thakura has answered about the holy name. And I think you'll find it enlightening. How grave is the importance of Namaparadha? That's a strange question. I think what is meant is, how serious are the effects of Namaparadha? Or how important is it to avoid Namaparadha? It's translated from Bengali. So the English is not perfect. As the holy names of the Lord is the highest object, so Namaparadha is also more serious than all other kinds of sinful activities and offenses. All kinds of sinful activities and offenses are destroyed by taking shelter of the holy name, but Namaparadha does not go away easily. Isn't that interesting? If you commit some sinful activity accidentally, or make some offense in the holy dham, or in seva, Bhaktivinoda Thakura is saying you can be free from that offense by chanting Hare Krishna, but if you make an offense to the holy name, you're going to have to do a lot of chanting to become free from that offense. So, you know, sometimes we're making offense, becoming free from offense, making more offense, but you know, we're not getting far. So the more we can clear away offenses, the more purely we can chant. You know. It's like an offense to the holy name is like a stain that's hard to get out, like a cherry stain or a turmeric stain or a mango stain. Right? Can you get out a mango stain on your white dhoti? It turns brown, right? Maybe you can bleach it out or something. Beat it on a rock, I don't know. But it doesn't come out easily, right? Wear like some other stain, like some little rice stain or something. It easily comes out. So that's what Bhaktivinoda Thakura is saying, that other kinds of offenses are more easily removed or counteracted by the offense to the holy name. It's not easily removed. And he recommends constant chanting of the holy name without offense to counteract the offense. Whereas if you commit sin, you can just chant once. One Hare Krishna, sin is gone. When you commit offense to the holy name, continually chant. So, we're trying to scare you into not making offenses. But still it's a fact. And Bhaktivinoda Thakura said that offenses to the holy name take a long time to overcome. And they're overcome slowly and on higher stages of devotional service. And you can say the real way to overcome the offense is to chant purely, to stop making the offense. Okay. Question 2. Can Namaparadha be compared with any sinful activity? If the 5 kinds of sinful activities are multiplied 10 million times, still it cannot be compared with Namaparadha. That's from Jaiva Dharma. So, that's another way of saying something like, offending a Vaishnava is worse than killing a cow and eating its meat. What is said here? 5 kinds of sinful activity. What are the 5 kinds? I'm not sure. Does anybody know what he's referring to? Killing a Brahmin, killing your Guru's wife, Manjani Kani Chapapani, Brahmahatyadi. Some horrible thing, right? And multiply that 10 million times, and Namaparadha is worse. Hare Krishna. You better be careful. Question 3. Can one gain anything by making a show of chanting the holy names without giving up the offenses? Yes, he can gain many girlfriends. No, it doesn't say that. But he could. Yes, he can impress many people. And he can gain reputation. And maybe also gain a place in the lower planets as well. Let's see what he says. Without realizing the difference between Nam and Namabhas, many people think that the holy names consist of only the alphabets. Therefore, they assume that by chanting the holy names without faith, one can attain perfection. In other words, he's saying they don't understand what the name is, so they think it's some kind of ritual. And so if it's a ritual, you just chant it a certain amount of times, and then you get a benefit. It's like something material. And it doesn't require any faith, it's just you do the ritual. It's mechanical. How many mantras did you chant? I chanted so many mantras. If I chant so many mantras, I'll get so many benefits from it. Irrespective of my consciousness, irrespective of my understanding, my devotion, my faith. That's how people think, but that's obviously incorrect. To substantiate their claim, they put forth the history of Ajamil and various scriptural injunctions. It has been described before that the holy name is fully transcendental. Therefore, it cannot be accepted by the blunt material senses. In such a case, unless one takes shelter of the holy names offenselessly, there's no possibility of achieving any fruit from the chanting of holy names. Ajamil, he couldn't chant offensively, because he was just calling his son. So it wasn't really chanting, right? And so in that section of the Bhagavatam, it describes all these ways you can chant which are not offensive. Because you're actually, it's interesting. You're not actually trying to purify yourself. You're just joking. Hey, Hare Krishna. Like that, right? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. Maybe you're just joking or fooling around. So it's not considered offensive. It's considered namabhas. But if we do that, it's considered offensive. Because we are trying to purify ourselves by the chanting of the holy name. And we know the process, what to speak if we're initiated and if committed not to make the offenses. So then for us it becomes offensive. Whereas for Ajamil, how could it be offensive? He wasn't even chanting. He was just saying, Narayan, come here. Right? Or you get a dog and you call the dog Krishna. I met someone in Canada, they had a dog, his name was Krishna. Krishna comes, time to eat. Krishna, get out of the house. Krishna, don't bother me. But so they're saying Krishna, that's namabhas. For them it's namabhas. So, cannot be accepted by the blunt material senses. In such a case, unless one takes shelter of the holy names offenselessly, there's no possibility of achieving any fruit from chanting the holy name. The result of uttering the holy names by the faithless person is that later on they can chant the holy names faithfully. So sometimes we say, well, it's better you chant than don't chant at all. Because if you chant, there's hope that you'll get purified. Therefore, those who misinterpret the glories of the holy name and advertise the holy name as a limb of fruitive activities by considering the holy name as mundane sound vibration are extremely materialistic and are offenders at the holy name, at the feet of the holy name. It's the offense, considering it, the holy name as equivalent to karma kanda, a material activity. Because the holy name is Krishna, and the holy name is meant to purify us. Karma kanda is a material activity. So then if you think chanting is like a material activity, then that's offensive. Because it's Krishna. And if we make offenses to the holy name, we're not going to go very far. At least not far up. You might go far down, but you won't go far up. So when you are initiated, or when you were initiated, the 10 offenses were read. The reason the 10 offenses were read is because your first initiation was initiation into the chanting of the holy name. Right? So now you're given the mantra, you're vowing to chant 16 rounds, and therefore, how are you going to chant? You have to know what the offenses are, because you have to avoid them. If you don't know what they are, how will you avoid them? Right? And once you know what they are, then now you're liable, because now you know what they are, and so when you don't follow, then it becomes offensive. If you don't know what they are, like a jamil, and you're just chanting the name of your son or your dog or your daughter or son, it's a different kind of namabas, but it's still namabas. But that kind of namabas of a jamil got him liberation, but it didn't get him Krishna. Right? He got liberation. He got his life was extended. And it got rid of, that kind of namabas gets rid of the yamadutas. Right? That we saw. Definitely gets rid of the yamadutas. So he got liberated. But to develop love of Krishna, he has to come to Shuddhanam. And that is done by completely avoiding the offenses. And namabhas is that stage when you're trying to avoid the offenses, although you may not perfectly avoid, but you're trying. And so you're becoming, in the stage of namabhas, you're becoming free from anarthas. And it's leading you to pure chanting. So the chanting of people who will make fun of us or call their kids, it's helping them. But in order to make progress, you eventually have to come to know how to chant, what are the offenses, how to avoid them, and so forth. So if anybody chants, we encourage them. It's beneficial. But to make steady progress, then we have to chant, at least making the effort to avoid the offenses. Because sometimes we will make offenses, but at least we have to try not to. Like you'll get distracted. So when you get distracted, then you think, oh, I'm distracted, I should focus. So then you try to focus, and then a few minutes later you get distracted. But at least you're trying. You're not just allowing yourself to be distracted. So you're trying. So that's considered chanting in the namabhas stage. The definition of namabhas for us is chanting with Jagannath Swami Ki Jai. Chanting, making the effort to avoid the offenses. That's namabhas. Chanting, making the effort to avoid the offenses. And Shuddhanam, there won't be any offenses. Of course, to chant Shuddha Nam, you have to be Shuddha. So it's a little bit of a conundrum. How can I chant Shuddha Nam if I'm not Shuddha? By chanting and trying to avoid offenses, you become Shuddha. You become free from anarthas. So that's the process. And as you become pure, then your chanting becomes more pure. Now you can be impure and you can chant purely, but to chant completely purely, you have to be completely pure. Takaharidas, I think 192 rounds. How can you do that? Think you can do that by force? He had such a taste for chanting that you could imagine he didn't want to stop chanting. And sleeping and eating were just getting in the way of chanting. Right? Okay, let's read the next one. The question we just read, can one gain anything? Yeah, you can gain something material by offensive chanting. It said the holy name is Chintami. So, if you want something material, he can give it to you, but it's like, you know how Krishna is. Like, if someone approaches him for something material, it's like, okay, take it. You know, it's like, for Krishna, it's like, yeah, go in the garage, go in the storeroom, take something, I don't want it. It's all the stuff I don't want in the storeroom, you can have it. It's something like that. If that's what you want, yeah, take it, no problem. And so, it's considered that if someone does that, they're most unfortunate, because they could have gotten the treasure of love of God and they ask Krishna for something material. So, very unfortunate. Is it not a namaparad to unlawfully initiate a woman in order to take advantage of her association on the strength of chanting the holy names? So, I'm assuming by reading this explanation that what he's describing was going on in so-called Vaishnava communities. Because the way these questions are being asked, as far as I know, they were never asked. They're just taking excerpts from the book and then creating questions. Like you take something from an article and you think, okay, what question did this paragraph answer? And then they put the question. So it's a way of gaining like salient points, important points from the philosophy and making it more readable, digestible, understandable by posing questions. One of our godbrothers did a book. It was called The Guru and What Prabhupada Said. And he did the same thing. He posed questions and then picked out from Prabhupada's books statements that would answer those questions. It was kind of an interesting way of studying. So listen to this. This must have been going on. Once upon a time, a Vaishnava sannyasi became attracted to a beautiful woman. Being induced by his sinful propensity, he finally decided as follows, quote, "Since I always chant the holy names, I can make that woman my disciple by giving her Harinam initiation, and then I can accept service from her. In the process, whatever sinful activities will be committed, that will certainly be destroyed by the holy names chanted by both of us." Sounds good to me, huh? The woman will also get an opportunity to become a Vaishnavi. The association of Vaishnavas is very rare. Moreover, I will learn many things about the ecstatic love of the gopis from her association. Where can I get such an association? Thinking in this way, the Vaishnava sannyasi made it out that made that woman a Vaishnavi and enjoyed her service. This is an example of ultimate Namaparadha. This is the ultimate Namaparadha, because he's planning his debauchery in a way that he'll be saved by the holy name. And he's rationalizing and making excuses. So basically it's the offense of committing sin on the strength of chanting. And he's saying this is the ultimate aparadha, and Prabhupada said this is the worst of all the aparadhas. And Bhaktivinoda Thakura explains elsewhere that if you commit a sin, a premeditated sin, you plan to commit a sin, with the plan that you will chant Harinam and become free from the sin. So he says, better not chant Harinam to become free from the sin, just accept the reaction to the sin. Because if you chant Harinam to become free from the sin, that chanting is more detrimental and more sinful than the sin you committed, and you'll suffer even more. Should I say that again? Or was that clear? That was okay? So the sin of committing sin on the strength of chanting is more sinful than the sin you've committed that you're trying to... So you're trying to chant to eliminate the sin, but that chanting is more sinful than the sin you're trying to eliminate. So don't chant to eliminate sin. For us, if we accidentally commit a mistake or a sin, we ask for forgiveness and then we continue chanting. But it's not premeditated. So Prabhupada was asked, about fall down. Does Krishna forgive a devotee if they fall down? Apichet sudurachara. It seems like he does. But they were questioning Prabhupada, under what conditions would a devotee be forgiven? And Prabhupada said, if it's accidental, he'll be forgiven. If it's premeditated, he won't be forgiven. So, there's a big difference between planning to commit a sin, knowing that it's wrong, and accidentally committing a sin, unintentionally, unwillingly. So if he accidentally commits a sin and he regrets it, he's forgiven. You know what it means to accidentally commit a sin? It means you didn't wake up in the morning thinking you were going to do it. It just happened accidentally, due to some weakness or some situation. What is, question number 5, this is from Jaiva Dharma, what is the reason behind the holy names not bearing fruit immediately? If the all-powerful rain of holy names falls on the hard stones like the body, house, wealth, follower, and greed, then it does not bear fruit immediately. These obstacles are divided into 2 classes, namely small obstacles and big obstacles. When there are small obstacles in the course of chanting the holy names, such as chanting of the holy names, such chanting of the holy names becomes namapradha. They award result very late. If there are big obstacles while chanting the holy names, then such chanting becomes namaparadha. Without incessant chanting of the holy names, these offenses do not go away. If you read the Jaiva Dharma, these disciples were given the holy name, and they went home to chant 64 rounds. And I think a week later, they were on the stage of Baba, because they chanted Shuddhanam. So, sooner you get to Shuddhanam, the better. That's the goal. Yes? That's the goal. Everything happens when you chant Shuddhanam. Everything good. And when we chant Namaparadha, nothing good happens. The only good thing is if we keep chanting to improve. But so Bhaktivinoda Thakura is saying, according to the receptivity, the faith, the purity, the intention, the sadhana of the chanter, the name will bear fruit either slowly or quickly. So, water can fall on rocks. It can fall on fertile soil. So, sometimes we have seen devotees are chanting, and it doesn't seem like they're that interested in being Krishna conscious. They're just chanting because they're supposed to. Right? And it looks like they're very disconnected when they're chanting, doesn't it? Like they're in some other universe, in the material universe, not the spiritual universe. And they're just chanting. And they're not really connecting with the mood and the intensity. So that's what he's talking about. That kind of chanting, the result will be very, very slow. And what he's saying is, you only get the result when you're pure. So it may take many, 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 many years of that kind of chanting to purify one enough that their chanting is pure enough that something happens. Right? Does that make sense? But if your chanting is pure, immediately you'll get immediate result. Or you'll get more result. So the point is that I think some people maybe don't understand. They think, well, it's the holy name, it's Krishna. Krishna's dancing on my tongue, so any chanting should be sufficient. But Bhaktivinoda Thakura is saying, no, it depends on the receptivity and purity, intention, dedication, focus of the chanter. And the effects will be much different for different people, depending on the quality of their chanting. So, the bad news is, we could go our whole lives and not advance very much. Or, within a short time, we could advance very much. Depending on the quality of our chanting. So, how many of you chanted good rounds today? Raise your hand. How many of you chanted okay rounds today? Raise your hand. And how many of you chanted bad rounds today? Raise your hand. So all the good chanters made more advancement than the average chanters, and the average chanters made more advancement than the bad chanters. Thankfully, tomorrow's another day. You have another chance. And so, it's nice to think that every day when you chant, it's an opportunity to advance. And according to the quality of your chanting, that's how much you'll advance, at least relative to, you have relative limitations, obviously, but relative to your own application, you'll advance more or less, and that's true every morning, depending on the quality. The intention, the connection, the focus, and so forth. The intention to give up the offenses, avoid the offenses. So it's possible that we can chant and not make much advancement. That's bad news, isn't it? Very bad news. But it's important to know that. Because by knowing that, we can be more conscientious, right? Okay, right now I'm going to chant Hare Krishna. There will be some benefit. But as this question asks, what's the question? What is the reason behind the holy names not bearing fruit immediately? So we're chanting, we're waiting for the fruit, we're not getting it. And that could be for a devotee, even an older devotee. It's possible they may not get so much fruit. So the point is, don't think, just because I'm chanting, I'll become advanced. No, you have to chant without offense. All chanting is not equal. Right? What is the symptom of a person who is devoid of unalloyed devotional service? Let's see how many symptoms you can check off in your own life. The following are the symptoms of a person devoid of pure devotional service. Engaging in the condemned activities such as disregarding the pure Vaishnavas, associating with non-devotees, in other words, illicit association with women and materialists, disregarding the spiritual master, blaspheming the devotional literatures, considering the Lord and His holy name to be different, considering the holy names to be equal to pious activities, lack of faith in the chanting of the holy names due to possessing the mentality of I and mine, and committing sinful activities on the strength of the holy names. So he's reciting the 10 offenses. He says here that lack of faith due to the mentality of I and mine. That's mentality of I and mine is the offense of maintaining material attachments. And it said it's also an offense, to be inattentive, to not have faith in the holy name. It seems like there's 3 offenses there, right? But he's connecting 2 offenses. He's connecting to not have faith with material attachment. So he says, I'll read that again. Lack of faith in the chanting of the holy names due to possessing the mentality of I and mine. So I and mine is the material attachment, which is coming from lack of faith. I am the controller and enjoyer. So, if we chant the holy name in the mood that I am the enjoyer and controller, it's an offense. And Sanatana Goswami says, sometimes somebody thinks I'm the controller of the holy name. I'm the master of the holy name. So that comes under this offense. And now he's asking, what are the 10 kinds of aparadhas? We just read them. So I'm going to go to the next question. What is the definition of the first namaparadha? He's going to go through an explanation here, I think. Yeah. So we'll get an explanation by Bhaktivinoda Thakura of the 10 offenses. This is very nice. The first namaparadha is to blaspheme those saintly persons who have taken complete shelter of the holy names and have given up all pious activities. Cultivation of knowledge, practice of yoga. The holy name of Hari cannot tolerate the blasphemy of his devotees who are engaged in spreading the actual glories of the holy names. By accepting the devotees who are attached to chanting the holy names as the topmost, and by chanting the holy names in their association while giving up blaspheming, then one can quickly attain the mercy of the holy names. That's a nice sentence. I'll read that again. By accepting the devotees who are attached to chanting the holy names as the topmost, these are the topmost devotees, and by chanting the holy names in their association while giving up blasphemy, then one can quickly attain the mercy of the holy names. So if you turn that sentence around, say if you criticize, very difficult to achieve the mercy, or it'll take a long time, or maybe never. You don't stop criticizing. But if we stop criticizing, then we get the mercy very quickly. How many of you criticize? Raise your hand. No, how many of you don't criticize? Raise your hand. Only one. Wow, amazing. So that's an obstacle to your pure bhakti. Just as a point of information, if you have a tendency to criticize, that tendency will likely manifest in the Sangha of Vaishnavas. You might say, well, I criticize non-devotees, but I don't criticize devotees. Well, if you criticize non-devotees, there's a tendency to criticize. It's bound to enter the Vaishnava Sangha. You agree? Because there's a tendency you're cultivating. Yeah, so pure devotional service is devoid of the desire to criticize. And it is full of honor and respect and appreciation for Vaishnavas. That's what pure devotional service is all about. And in that humble state of mind, what can you do? You can chant constantly. Third verse, Shastakam, right? So Mahaprabhu is saying, if we're proud, it's going to be hard to chant. If we're humble, we can always chant. Interesting, right? So, the degree of respect I have for you, and the degree of respect you have for the other Vaishnavas, it's affecting your ability to chant. Isn't that interesting? There's a connection there. So let's make an experiment. From the time you leave the temple tonight till tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, we won't criticize any devotee, but we'll just appreciate them. And let's see if our rounds are better tomorrow. Just, before you chant your rounds tomorrow, think of all the devotees you can appreciate. Or you can think of them tonight also. And just think of them favorably. And then see if your rounds are any better. Can we do that experiment? Okay, so from now on, you can't criticize anybody. After 2 o'clock tomorrow, you can criticize as much as you want. But for this experiment, for us to test this, of course I'm kidding, to test this experiment, then we won't criticize anyone. And I think we'll see chanting will be sweeter, easier, when we appreciate the devotees. And as been said here, it can be destructive if we don't. How many types of second number Namaparadha? Jagannath Swami ki jai. Okay, that includes everyone out there. No offenses to any devotee. At least till you finish your rounds tomorrow morning. And then you'll be dying to commit offenses because you'll be fasting from offenses. So you want to get your rounds done really quick. My last round, now I can start offending devotees again. I couldn't take it, no offense. No offense for like 16 hours, that was painful. Actually what will happen is you'll feel good and you want to continue respecting devotees. Yes. So how many types of second Namaparadha? Second, I mean, it must mean the second offense. Let's see what it says, yes. There are 2 types of second Namaparadha, or the second Namaparadha. The first type is to consider the names, qualities, etc. of Sadashiva, the foremost demigod, and Lord Vishnu, to be different. To be different. As an offense. Whoa. The purport is that if one imagines Sadashiva as an independent god and Lord Vishnu as an independent god, then one falls in the category of accepting many gods. As a result, one's unalloyed devotional service to Krishna becomes obstructed. Krishna is the Lord of Lords, and the lordships of all demigods headed by Shiva is dependent on Krishna. In other words, those demigods have no separate independence or power. By chanting the holy name with such a conviction, one does not commit any offense. The second type is to consider the names, forms, qualities, and pastimes of the Lord to be different from the eternally perfected body of the Lord. Therefore, one should accept the forms of Krishna, the name of Krishna, the qualities of Krishna, the pastimes of Krishna to be spiritual and not different from each other. With such a mentality, one should chant the holy names of Krishna. Otherwise, one commits Namaparadha. It is prescribed that one should engage in chanting the holy name of Krishna after achieving this knowledge. So he's making the point of the demigods not being independent of Vishnu, in that sense, a oneness in that sense. Right? Vishnu is the supreme and all the demigods are dependent. They're not independent. And Krishna's name, form, qualities, pastimes are all Krishna. To think it's not Krishna is an offense. Now, I'm chanting, right? And so I should be seeing the form of Krishna because Namarupa, Guna Lila, it's all contained within the name. That's not contained, it is the name. Krishna and his form are the same. The name and the form are the same. All of Krishna's qualities are present in his name because Krishna is present in his name. So if Krishna is present, obviously the form and qualities are there. And wherever Krishna is, there will be pastimes. Right? So have you seen that when you chant? You see Krishna, meditate on his qualities, see his leelas, and enter his leelas? Anybody? Even if you have, you're not supposed to say you have. So that means you all have, because you won't say you have. So it's an offense to think that Krishna is different from his guna, rupa, and lila. So this requires some faith. So we're given knowledge that this is Krishna, but we may not have full realization. But if we doubt that, then it becomes offensive. So rather we have faith in it and we chant the holy name as Krishna with faith, and that's how we realize. That's how we'll get this knowledge realized, because of the faith. And it's very easy to doubt when you don't have experience, isn't it? And faith means to accept something that you haven't yet experienced. So tomorrow when you chant, you can meditate on Krishna is present with you in the room while you're chanting. Even though you don't see him, someday you will, and he's there. That's how we have to accept it. That kind of faith. And through that kind of faith, it's revealed. Because you're not going to you can't wait to intellectually understand that. It's not something you understand intellectually. You understand it through realization, through practice. But the realization first comes when it's based on faith. Okay, I know Krishna's there. I know his qualities, his leelas are there. But it's going to take time to realize it, but I know it's there. That kind of faith is required. Question number 10. What is the symptom of disobeying the spiritual master, which is the third offense? Those who consider the spiritual master who awards the holy names, those who consider that the spiritual master is only conversant with the scriptures dealing with the holy names is inferior than the spiritual master who is well acquainted with Vedanta and philosophical literatures are certainly offenders at the holy name. Actually, there is no superior spiritual master than one who knows the science of the holy names. To consider such a spiritual master as insignificant is an offense. So this is his description. Bhaktivinoda Thakura is describing the third offense as to disrespect the Guru by thinking all he knows is nam tattva. He doesn't have much other knowledge. And, which means I know something more than he does. So then you disrespect him. We've had it translated as disobeying the orders of the spiritual master, but here he translated it as disobeying the spiritual master, which is more of disregarding him, disregarding his position, or putting yourself in some way above him or even equal in knowledge. How should one treat his spiritual master? One should not think his spiritual master to be an ordinary human being. Rather, one should respect him as an associate of Krishna, filled with the energy of Krishna. To consider the spiritual master as Krishna is also the philosophy of impersonalists. You know, he's addressing what's going on in India at that time, so disrespect to the spiritual master must have been prevalent here. What is the fourth Namaparadha? The glories of the holy name are found in all the Vedas and Upanishads. Therefore, it is an offense to blaspheme such Vedic literature. This is like really interesting. Listen to this. It's so interesting. Due to misfortune, many persons respect other instructions of the Vedic literature and neglect the instruction of the Vedas which glorify the holy names. This is their offense at the holy feet of the names. Due to this offense, they do not develop taste for chanting. Elsewhere, Bhaktivinoda Thakura said something very interesting. He said, if you study the Vedas, the ultimate essence of all the Vedas is that they're glorifying the holy name. So if you blaspheme the Vedas, then indirectly or directly, you might say, you're blaspheming the holy name. Because ultimately all the Vedas are glorifying the holy name. So to blaspheme the Vedic literature and pursuance of the Vedic version, if they're all ultimately glorifying the holy name, and you blaspheme them, then you're blaspheming the holy name. That's his explanation of that offense. Next question. What does it mean, giving some interpretation of the holy name? Those who say that the statements of the Vedas, revealed scriptures, and Puranas, which are indicative of the glories of the holy name, are exaggeration, they go to hell forever. That's what it says. That forever means a long time. That's pretty heavy. Oh, you're making that up. The holy name doesn't do that. Don't say that. Don't even think that. This one person said, oh, I'm so impure. If I chant the holy name, I will contaminate the holy name. I know in the Shastra it says the holy name is pure, but it can't purify me. That's interpretation. That's not what the Shastras say. Well, that's interpretation. What is the result if one thinks that the glories of the holy name of Hari is imaginary? It is an offense to consider the Lord's holy name as an imagination. The impersonalists and the materialists think that the supreme truth is impersonal and devoid of names, forms, etc. Those who conclude that the holy names such as Rama and Krishna have been imagined by the sages for the sake of formality are offenders at the holy name of Krishna. Or you can also say, some people say, where there's some glorification of something, of a person or a god, in this case the holy name, some people will say, well, the scriptures are just exaggerating to get you to chant. It's not really true. Oh yeah, they're saying if you chant, you'll become free from sin. It's not really true. They just want to get you to chant. If you chant, you'll get prema. Not really true. Or whatever results the Shastra says you'll get by chanting, they'll say no. It's advertising only. It's false advertising. So that would be an offense. And you're thinking these glories are just being imagined to market the holy name, so to speak. What is the definition of committing sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name? Those who engage in committing sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy names are offenders at the feet of the holy names. The sinful activities which are committed on the strength of the holy names cannot be counteracted by the process of yama, niyama, and so on. Because since it is counted as one of the namaparadhas, it will only be counteracted by the prescribed process for counteracting the offenses against the holy name. Yeah. Like we said before, you can't counteract it by anything other than chanting. Hey! No laughing. You have to laugh outside. He's laughing and he's pointing his finger at him. It's like a classic. A classic, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I'm innocent. It's like, who ate the cookie? Not me. I didn't eat the cookie. What does it mean by counteracting the sinful reactions while chanting the holy names? Those who conclude that let us commit sinful activities and also chant the holy names of Hari, and thus after debit and credit there will be no balance of sinful reactions left, and thus commit fresh sinful activities after taking shelter of the holy names, are cheaters and offenders of the holy names. This is interesting because when you give something valuable to people in general, many of them misuse it. And so that's why Vedic mantras traditionally were only given to Brahmins. They weren't entrusted to everybody because they misuse it. So here's examples of people misusing the holy name. Oh, this is great. I read you become free from sin when you chant. So this is great. I can commit any sin I want and I'll just chant. So it's you putting the holy name in the heads of Malecha-like thinking, thank you. Or Shudra-like thinking. It's dangerous. Right? What makes one commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy names? Good question. What time do we end tonight? Is there a time? Or are we on eternal time? We just go and end whenever we want. What's the official time? 9. Okay. Let's see how much more we have. We're on question 20. We have 31 questions. Okay. Then we'll take your questions. Or question 18. What makes one commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name? Since there are some offenses already existing in a person, his chanting of the holy names become namabhas and not pure. Due to namabhas, previous sinful reactions are eradicated, and the taste for fresh sinful activities does not develop. Whatever sinful reactions that is left over from the previously committed sinful activities also gradually become destroyed by the strength of Nambas. Jagannath Swami ki jai. Hare Krishna. But if a person who has taken shelter of the holy names thinks that, since all sinful reactions are destroyed by chanting the holy names of the Lord, then if I commit any sinful activities that will also get destroyed by the process of chanting, then his chanting of the holy name becomes an offense, because he is committing sinful activities in the strength of chanting. There's a lot of questions about this. What is the offense of considering chanting the holy names to be equal to pious activities? Although Harinam is the sadhana, process for achieving the goal of life, and sadhya, perfection of the goal of life, therefore Harinam cannot be compared with other pious activities. Those who consider that holy names as non-different from pious activities are offenders. What is the main impediment for not having attachment for chanting? If even one gives up all offenses against the holy name, if he is inattentive while chanting, he can never develop attachment for chanting. You've eliminated all the offenses, but you're inattentive. Sometimes inattention is described as giving attention to Maya. So it's not just that I'm spacing out in the void, but my attention is actually going into Maya. What is the symptom of a restless chanter? You know the symptom of a restless chanter? What does a restless chanter look like? You know what it's looks like you, squiggling around, moving around. That's called restless. You can't stay in one place. You have to move around. That's restless. Here's the symptom of a restless chanter. Don't be restless, okay? Be shanti shanti. Those who are afflicted with restlessness try to finish up their prescribed number of rounds chanting as soon as possible. One should remain careful not to commit such an offense while chanting. Wow. That's a new offense we haven't heard before. Restlessness. You're restless, so you want to get your rounds done, so you can do something important, right? Like surf the internet, or play video games, or talk prajapa. The sooner you get your rounds done, the sooner you can talk prajapa and watch movies. After all, japa is just getting in the way of all the fun, right? Isn't it? Yeah, we're making jokes, but that's because we felt that way before, right? I got to get my rounds done so I can do something fun. This is not fun, right? Why paying no attention to chanting is the source of all other offenses? Good question. Oh, this is a prayer, I guess. Oh, reservoir of all transcendental qualities, if one chants the holy names of the Lord, but his attention is somewhere else, how can he achieve any benefit? If even such a person chants 100,000 holy names of the Lord, still a drop of metals of ecstatic love will not be attained. O Lord, this is the definition of paying no attention while chanting the holy names. This offense is deeply rooted in the hearts of materialists. It's because their heart it's so prone to materialism. It's so hard for them to pay attention to the holy name because they're not really interested. Does that make sense? You know, their interest is in material things to such an extent that there's just not a lot of interest in chanting. Do you ever feel like that? You're chanting and you don't want to because there's something you really want to do? Yeah. So here he's making a point that if we have materialistic mentality or consciousness, then it's going to be really difficult to be focused on chanting. We'll be focused on material things, material desires, attachments, whatever it is. Or there'll just be no energy. Because chanting of the holy name is counteracting that whole materialistic tendency. And if you want to cultivate a materialistic tendency, it doesn't make sense to chant, does it? Better chant money, money, money. But chanting Hare Krishna is counteracting that tendency. And if you don't want to counteract the tendency, it's really hard to chant with devotion and sincerity. Because it's not really what you want. Does that make sense? Of course you could say, well, if I keep chanting, then I'll want it. Yeah, that may be. But you also have to be willing to detach. Or you have to allow the detachment to happen. Because the holy name will detach you. But it doesn't mean you won't fight it. You can fight it. That's one of the meanings of the 10th offense. To maintain material attachment, the holy name will detach you. You know, it's like somebody's pulling something out of your hand and you're pulling it back. So the holy name's pulling material desires, but sometimes we hold on. Don't take that one, I want it. I'm too attached. Take this one, I don't need this one. Isn't it? So if we're chanting in that mood and the holy name is working on us and then we're fighting it back, then it's a big problem. Yes? So that becomes the source of all offenses. This is it's something to meditate on. Because I've seen this with devotees, that sometimes I'm watching them chant and it looks like they don't really want to chant. It looks like they're in such a different world than japa. You ever seen that? It's like it's like, why are you chanting? What are you trying to do? Isn't it? It's like there's nothing there. It's like, you know, it's like an air balloon is chanting. You know? It's just like there's no heart. You know, it's like, why are you doing it? Of course, we know why they're doing it, because they made a vow to do it. But aside from that, there's nothing there. And that would indicate to some degree that the desire to be Krishna conscious and the desire to be renounced and so forth is weak. And there's actually a resistance to the holy name, or a subconscious fear that the holy name would counteract that resistance. And I kind of like that resistance, all right? I'm holding on, and I'm afraid the holy name is going to tear something away from me. And so subconsciously the chanter puts the level on 1 or 2, not on 10. Because he knows when it goes to 10, there's going to be a lot of detachment. So I'll chant at 1 or 2. And then the devotee's thinking, why aren't my rounds good? I'm trying so hard. But you don't realize that subconsciously you really don't want to chant well, because you know the result will be high levels of detachment, or whatever it is, spiritual advancement. Does that make sense? So you can just meditate on that. I'm not saying that you do that, but I'm not saying that you don't do that, or you haven't done it, or you couldn't do it. So that's something to meditate on. What am I afraid of? If I become Krishna conscious, what am I afraid of? Is there anything I'm afraid of? Because if there is, then why would you chant Shuddhanam? Because that will make you Krishna conscious, and that will therefore confront you with what you're afraid of, whatever that is. Does that make sense? So, better I chant bad rounds. Then I'll be safe, right? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. We've all seen that, and we've all done it, right? We were talking in class the other day about, maybe here somewhere, I can't remember, about, maybe here. Yeah, it was the other night, last night. Yesterday. About the perfect world, like living in the perfect world. So, now just try to imagine Your life was perfect. You were the perfect weight, the perfect beauty. You were super talented, super intelligent, super healthy. You don't have any pain in your body or in your heart or in your mind. You had more money than you could ever spend in 100 lifetimes. Your kids are amazing. Your spouse is amazing. Your neighbors are amazing. Your house is amazing. Everything's amazing. And you sit down to chant Hare Krishna. Like, how intense is your job going to be? You'll be chanting, you'll be thinking, detachment? I don't want to lose all this. This is good. Right? Does that make sense? And everybody knows some of the best rounds they ever had were when things were the most difficult. Right? So if we're too attached to being comfortable in our position, it's going to minimize the intensity with which we chant, because we'll actually be afraid that Holy Name might work and I might advance too fast. I may not be ready for it, Right? You're going to, parachute out of the plane and, they're going to push you out because you won't go on. Don't push me yet. Give me time. Let me think. I don't know if I'm ready. I have a question. Do you really think it'd be that bad if you were like playing with Krishna all day? Would that be like bad? Like, would you be afraid of that? How would I play with Krishna all day? I can't play my guitar. Are you going to think like that? I don't think so. So we have to be intelligent. I always tell people, I tell devotees, we're trying to be happy, but we're limited human beings. Krishna, he wants to make us happy. Who do you think is better at making us happy, us or Krishna? We're not very good at it. We've been trying a long time. We're not so good at it. And sometimes we're really bad at it, right? Sometimes we misjudge. And Krishna, wow, he's so good at making us happy. You let him make you happy, he does a much better job than you. But we're afraid. No, Krishna, not yet. Don't make me, surrender too much, too fast, too soon. We're crazy. We're thinking we're going to do a better job. Krishna says, okay, you don't have to surrender to me, but you have to surrender to somebody. So you're not going to avoid surrender. So these kinds of things we have to be clear on. I'm afraid to surrender to Krishna. Don't think you won't surrender to somebody. Yes? Okay, question 24 out of 31. We may have no time for your questions. But anyway, we got a lot of questions answered. By which process can laziness be destroyed? The characteristic of a saintly person is that he does not waste any time. By seeing such a character, one will certainly hanker after it. One will think, alas, when will I become fortunate enough to chant, sing, and remember the holy names of the Lord like this saintly person? Such an enthusiasm in the mind of a lazy person will destroy his laziness by remembrance of Krishna. In other words, he's saying you become transcendently jealous of a devotee who's fully engaged in devotional service, and you want to be like him. You want to be fully engaged also. Power of association. But you can apply this principle to anything you're trying to develop. If you're trying to develop something and you know another devotee has that quality, then spend time with him, because the quality will wear off on you. Right? So he's just giving the example of laziness, but you could apply that to so many things. How do you overcome this or that? Well, find a devotee that doesn't have that problem and associate by that power. You'll get some of that. If you lack faith, find someone who has a lot of faith. If you lack sense control. Find someone who has sense control. Once I remember this devotee was having trouble eating. He'd eat too much. So we were going to sit down for prasadam, and he said, I want to sit next to so-and-so Maharaj, because so-and-so Maharaj doesn't eat a lot. And by sitting next to him, I'll eat less. Right? But if I sit next to so-and-so Maharaj, he eats a lot. And if I sit next to him, I'm going to eat a lot. Yes? True or true? If you ever sat down and eaten with someone who eats a lot, and you ate more than normal, has that ever happened to you? You feel like you're supposed to eat more because they're eating more? Yes? Or vice versa? Sometimes people look at me and say, Prabhu, you're so thin. And I say, well, if you just live with me and only eat what I eat, you'll be thin also. It's the new Mahatma diet. How does it work? You just live with me. Whatever I eat, you eat, and you can't eat any more than I eat. And then you'll say, Prabhu, are we having dinner tonight? No. You look hungry. Why don't you eat something? No. Yeah. So. You like that idea? Why does one become indifferent to chanting the holy name? If desire for accumulating wealth, enjoying the association of women, the sensing of victory and defeat, aspiring for name and fame, and cheating others fills one's heart, then one will naturally become indifferent to chanting the holy names. So we discussed this before. Maintain material attachments. Why would you want to chant Hare Krishna if you want all these things? Right? But I think what he's saying is that it may be that you begin devotional service with a desire to be Krishna conscious, and these other anarthas, they sprout, anartha. They sprout up, and then once they sprout, if you don't eliminate them, it kind of sucks your desire. And then you become indifferent. You know that that indifference? Do you know the sound of indifference when you chant? Are you aware of that? Have you ever listened to yourself chanting? It's very interesting. Record yourself. Listen to yourself chant. You make a recording and it sounds like this. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And you realize, oh my God, I didn't know I chanted like that. I made a recording like that once, and it sounded like that. I was in shock. I said, oh my God. I don't believe I chant like that. Yeah. It's a true story. So I dare you all, put your phone on while you're chanting and forget that it's on and just chant and listen to it. You may be shocked what you hear. Maybe you won't be shocked, but you might be. Yes. What is the fault of instructing the faithless persons about the glories of the holy names? To instruct about the holy names of Hari to those who are faithless, who are adverse to the service of the Supreme Lord, and who are devoid of a taste for hearing the holy names, is an offense. It just means if you know, this is like feeding milk to a snake. Usually we don't know, but if we become aware, then it becomes an offense. What kind of offense is maintaining the mentality of I and mine? Those who are intoxicated by the mentality that I am such and such in this material world, and this wealth and followers are mine, and seldom hear the glories of the holy name from the mouths of saintly persons on account of flickering faith or knowledge, but do not display any love for the holy names. They are offenders at the feet of the holy name. So it's maintaining material. In other words, there has to be some degree of detachment to chant properly. And as I was saying before, the holy name will detach you, so there has to be a willingness when it detaches you to allow it to detach you, not to resist it. So you can meditate on this also. Are you becoming detached but resisting it? I don't know if you are, but just think about it. This is the famous question everyone's been asking yesterday. What is the cause behind an initiated devotee falling from the path of devotional service? Even after being initiated, the majority of materialistic persons fall down from the path of devotional service due to their mentality of I and mine. I and mine means I'm the enjoyer and I'm the controller and everything belongs to me. Or at least everything I can get belongs to me. So we have 3 more. What is the method for removing the mentality of I and mine? One should search for devotees who have given up material enjoyment and possessiveness and who worship the lotus feet of Krishna by engaging in chanting of his holy names and associate with them. By serving such devotees, one will gradually be able to give up the waves of material enjoyment and develop faith in the chanting of the holy name. In this way, one's mentality of I and mine will be destroyed and one will cross the ocean of material existence. Association of pure devotees. It's the solution. What is the goal of the offenders at the feet of the holy name? Whatever fruits an offender of the holy names desires while chanting, the holy name certainly awards them. But the holy name never awards him the fruit of love of God. One also enjoys the fruits of Namaparadha simultaneously. It's an aparad to chant the holy name with material for something material. But he's saying you can do that, you'll get it, the holy name will give it to you, and you'll also get the Namaparadha to go with it. Last question. What is the process for counteracting Namaparadha? If one commits offenses against the deity worship, the holy names can counteract them. The Namaparadhas are counteracted only by chanting of the holy names. Constant chanting of the holy names awards all perfection. Well, we have 10 minutes for questions. Hare Krishna. Who would like to ask a question? Yes. The definition of criticism.
In context.
There's different degrees. The worst degree is to publicly vilify, blaspheme, make up stories about, exaggerate. That's the worst. But the idea of criticism is, the best way to look at this is it's a mentality. And so the mentality of a Vaishnava is supposed to be, this is what we're working towards, to come to the point where we think everybody's better than us. And criticism is basically, I'm better than everybody. How do I know I'm better than everybody? Because I can criticize all of you. I can find out what's wrong with all of you, that makes me better than you, right? Because of course I don't have all the faults you have, right? Isn't it? So, it's a mentality of pride that causes criticism. So, it's very displeasing to Krishna, both in terms of your own heart and the fact that you're criticizing someone who's dear to him. That hurts him. So therefore it becomes an offense to him, and he and his name are the same. So it's offense to the name, yes.
It's connected to the same thing. Like if devotee hurts another devotee very badly,
Yes.
and that devotee who's hurt shares it with another devotee, is that criticism?
No. Not necessarily. I mean, this is amazing. It's such an amazing thing to think that there can be people walking on this planet who actually think everyone is better than them. That's inconceivable to our level of ego, right? So I ask you a question. Okay, we have, let's say how many people we have here. Let's say we have 60 people. We give out a piece of paper. Rate yourself amongst the 60. Where do you think you stand? 1 means the top, 60 the bottom. Probably 13, 14, 22. Everyone's going to be 22 and up, right? There's going to be nobody under 20. They've actually done this experiment with CEOs to rate themselves. Like, how do you rate yourself amongst all CEOs in the world? And they all rated themselves in the top 10. Mathematically, that's impossible because there were more than 10 of them. They couldn't be all, but isn't that, I mean, honestly, how would you rate yourself? So, a pure devotee would rate himself number 60. And so the point is that criticism is complete opposite mentality. It's rating yourself number 1. It's looking down. It's putting every person you criticize, you put down below you. Every person you respect and honor, you put above you. So humility means everyone's above me. Criticism, pride means everyone's below me, or many are below me. That's the problem. So, aside from the person you're criticizing that's dear to Krishna, just your mentality is not attractive to Krishna. But if you're humble, that mentality attracts Krishna. So there's 2 things going on. Your own consciousness is not beautiful, and then you're verbally accusing someone else, and that's hurting Krishna. So there's little criticism, there's big criticism. If I do something wrong, and you go to the president and tell him, that's not criticism. It's just a statement that something wrong was done, that it has to be rectified. So that's different. There's no malicious intent. You're not trying to pull me down. You're not acting out of pride. But this sense that I'm smarter, better, more advanced, it's a very neophyte mentality. And, if we all remain neophytes, how far can our movement go? And in order to cooperate, we have to overcome neophyte mentality. So I may not agree with you, but I could be wrong. I have to have that much humility. I don't see your point of view. I'm trying to see it, I don't understand it. I could be wrong, I'm not that smart, I still like you. And so we're so neophyte that if we don't agree with one another, then we end up not liking one another. I don't like you. Why don't you like her? Because she doesn't agree with me about some, point in Prabhupada's books. Is that a good reason not to like somebody? But that's very neophyte. So, if you come to the point of being able to respect and appreciate other devotees, that's a very good state to be in. That's really what we're striving for. That's a very high level of Krishna consciousness. But if you're always in a state of, oh, this devotee did that, and this devotee's doing this, and he said that, she said that, and look what they're doing, and it all may be true, but the fact that you're meditating on it, that's a very bad sign for your own Krishna consciousness. Or we could say it's a symptom that something's wrong. Right? So, let's say I'm finding fault with you. You did something wrong. But the real fault is with me. The real problem is that I'm finding fault with you. Not that you did something. It's a bigger problem that I'm finding fault with you than you did something wrong. That we have to realize. That's a very important point. And so if you're finding fault with somebody, okay, maybe they did something wrong, but we should think, something's wrong with me because I'm finding fault. Like, I need to find fault with you. Do I really need to find fault with you to make my day complete? But, yeah, we do that. And so then, therefore, we should think, what's wrong with me that I'm doing this? Right? But we're thinking, oh, I know what's wrong with him, and we're not thinking what's wrong with me for focusing on what's wrong with him. Why don't you focus on what's right with him? That's not fun. That doesn't make me feel better than him. I want to focus on what's wrong with him. And so we have to reflect. It's not what's wrong with him, it's what's wrong with me. That's the mentality of a Vaishnava. And I think one of the challenges we face, but there's 2 things. Understanding, number 1, what is the mentality, and number 2, doing it. So I think a lot of us don't really understand the mentality of a Vaishnava. We just think, you do some service and you do it well, and somehow or other you chant your rounds, somehow or other, and everything's good. But there's a whole mentality of what it means to be a Vaishnava. You know, like sometimes we'd be in India and we'd be with other Vaishnavas and they would act in exemplary ways, and Prabhupada would say, "Did you see what he did? That's a Vaishnava." And, you know, you'd see his mood, you'd see his humility, you'd see his service attitude. That's a Vaishnava. So we need to understand those things also. And if we understand them, it'll curb the tendency to criticize, because you'll realize criticism really doesn't have a place in Vaishnavism. In the heart of a Vaishnava, there's no place for it. He doesn't do it. He even turns bad into good. When there was a devotee who wasn't chanting his rounds, so the brahmacharis went, he was a senior devotee, brahmacharis went to Bhakti Siddhanta, and they said, he's not chanting his rounds. So that's something you would criticize, naturally, he's a senior man. And he didn't want to criticize, and he wanted to teach the devotees to appreciate. So he said, he asked, is he doing service? He said, yes, he's doing service. He said, amazing, he's better than me. So he said, if I didn't chant my rounds, I would be in Maya. I wouldn't be doing service. But he's not chanting his rounds, and he's doing service. He's better than me. So he's teaching that even in spite of an obvious fault, you can switch it and see a quality, and you can put yourself under that person. That is amazing, isn't it? Like, how many devotees think that way? Like maybe one, you know, or two, or three. But the point is, that's how we're supposed to think. And the point is, he's teaching that by this example because he wants us to think that way. So, it's not just we shouldn't criticize, it's a whole mentality behind criticism that is wrong. And so when we say we should glorify, we should appreciate, it's not just an act, it's a mentality, it's a consciousness, it's a realization of what humility is and how important humility is. And the humble devotee is at Krishna's feet, the proud devotee is, he's far from Krishna. Right? That's the idea. Yes?
You were talking about the rating, you said your devotee is in the 60, and due to the degree a person is neophyte, he'll rate himself in a top 10 or top 5.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's a fact in the nature that there are some people inferior to us in something, and some people are superior. Like that,
The reality there is,
you cannot avoid.
we have to see who's the senior Vaishnava, who's the friend, who's
in
below us.
multiple aspects with respect to the time of coming,
Mm-hmm.
the initiations, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So how can a devotee overlook all that facts and just say that I'm lowest?
You'll find out when you're a pure devotee how that works. But it's an internal feeling that, I'll tell you a story, maybe it'll help explain. So Prabhupada was asking the devotees in the early days of the movement, I would like you to open 108 temples. So when he was asking, there were like 10 temples or 15. And then he said something kind of shocked everybody. He said, and if you open these 108 temples, then I can peacefully die, like knowing I've done something to satisfy my Guru Maharaj, and then I can go to hell. And so devotees are like in complete shock. You know, they never heard Prabhupada say that. And the Prabhupada said, and they said, Prabhupada, if you're going to hell, we're going with you. It's of course what you would say, right? And Prabhupada said, no, you're going to Vaikuntha, you're all devotees, I'm going to hell. So Prabhupada was exhibiting ecstatic, this is an ecstatic symptom, right? That you feel that way. So that transcends all etiquette. But until we're on that level, we have to observe the etiquette. Okay, you're my senior, you're my peer, you're my junior. But still, at least we can find things in every devotee to respect. I think that's important, right? Like, what, you know, here's a new bhakta, and he's cleaning the temple room. He's so devoted and so sincere. And I appreciate that. So I respect that. I don't know if I have his sincerity. He's inspiring me. So I think that's important. That idea. And that is something that requires lots of effort and constant reminders. But there will be a point in your life in Krishna consciousness where that will start to come more naturally. Because your humility manifests with your advancement. And then there'll come to a point in your life where you're really not concerned about being respected or honored or appreciated. You're much more concerned about respecting, honoring, and appreciating others. And that'll be a happy day. Because so much anxiety is around our need for respect. Significance. Isn't it? I want you all to think I'm great. If you don't think I'm great, I'm not coming back here ever again. Isn't it? Why would I want to come back here if you don't think I'm great? I'll go somewhere else where they think I'm great. So we want to come to that point where that's not our motive. Right? It's not what's pushing us. It's not what we need. That will come with advancement. I can't say it'll come fast. Actually, I can say it won't come fast. But it will come someday. If we're advancing. And it begins, the first stage, it begins by wanting it to come. Because as we're saying, we're so resistant that some of us might think, humility, oh my God, I'd rather drink poison. You know, I mean, if I'm going to have to be humble, better I die. I just couldn't live, you know, without respect and honor, appreciation, and glorification. My ego being, you know, polished and inflated every morning. Look in the mirror. Yeah, I'm great. I'm the man. You know, people love me. You know. No, we're in the mood of service. We're in the mood of service. We're more concerned about loving people than them loving us. Right? You know, I did a training program in how to facilitate workshops. And one of the beautiful things they said, it's not about you, it's about them. It's not about you being funny and looking good and getting people to like you and all that. It's about your concern for them. That's what it's about. Yes? So I'm not trying to show off that I'm learned or knowledgeable. I'm trying to help you. That's my concern. You may think I'm smart, I'm not smart, but that's not my concern. But if you got something from me that I came to give you, then I'm happy. And then I don't need you to say, hey, you're great. Because I can see you got what I came to give, and that makes me happy. That's the mood. Right? Yes? Yes or yes? Yes. True or true? True. Good or great? Great. I'm supposed to say after that, turn to the person next to you, give them a high five, and tell them you are awesome. You want to do that? Turn to the person next to you, give them a high five, and tell them you are awesome. Actually, we should say you are amazing, because that's what Krishna says you are in the Gita. Give the person a high five and tell them, you are amazing! You are amazing! So we should stop, or someone dying to ask a question? I don't want to be guilty of murder and not let you ask your question if you're dying to ask it. Yes? Yes.
See, like there is one offense which says that to instruct a faithless person for the glory of the holy name.
Say that again?
Yeah, he should not instruct a faithless person.
Yeah, not instruct a faithless person. Yeah.
So then how do we preach?
How do you know they're faithless? Until you preach. So we make the assumption they're innocent until proven guilty. And then we find they're guilty, we stop preaching. Because you have to know that you're preaching. Well, there's two things. You have to know that your preaching is turning them into a monster, and they're going to attack and defend Krishna. But it also means you don't give them any gyan which is beyond what they can understand and they can digest. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur said it also means for a guru to initiate an unqualified person, because that person is famous or whatever, rich. That's an offense. So that would be, it's also similar. So, but for preaching, we go out. Everyone's innocent till proven guilty. You try to get them Krishna conscious, and if you see they're antagonistic, then you just say, okay, excuse me, sir, I have to go. Yes? So, anything else? So we're going to see you tomorrow at what time? 8 o'clock? I have an important question. In Bangalore, what time is 8 o'clock? Who can tell me? I have to know what time to come. Okay, here's the thing. All the best things I'm going to teach tomorrow, I'm going to teach at 8 o'clock. I'm going to save the best things for 8 o'clock. Not for 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. So if you don't come at 8 o'clock, I'm sorry, you're going to miss the best part of the whole workshop. How's that? Is that okay? Okay, so you are not coming at 8, you are coming at 8:15, right? Because I know you want to be on time, right? Yeah. So you're all going to be here at 8. So you're all going to be here at 7:45, and this is how you do it. This is a secret. You know, there's 3 things they didn't teach you in college. How to tell time, how to form a line, and how to drive between 2 white lines on the road. You didn't learn those 3 things, right? Is that true? They didn't teach you how to form lines, right? I've never seen a proper line in India. And you're always late, so they didn't teach you how to tell time. And they didn't teach you how to drive in one lane. So I was going to open a school in India and teach those 3 subjects, because you didn't learn them. Good idea? So now I'm going to teach you how to be on time. It's very easy. You start at 7:45, and then you calculate how long it takes to get to the temple tomorrow morning. Tomorrow's a holiday. I don't know if it's more crowded or less crowded. You figure how long it takes, right? And so let's say it takes an hour. So an hour minus 7:45 is 6:45, right? So you write 6:45 on a piece of paper, and you post it somewhere in your house. And that's the time you're going to leave. And if you leave at that time, you'll be here at 7:45, no problem. That's so simple, right? It's so simple, even you can do it. Or as I say, it's so simple, even Donald Trump could do it. Hare Krishna. So that's how you do it. You just have to know the time you have to leave to get here on time, right? Yes? And now I know for Indians it's really painful to be on time. I could just see it when they come in there on time. There's nobody here and they're thinking, oh my God, why am I on time? I feel so like I'm wasting my life or something. Isn't it? Being on time is such a waste of time. Isn't it? Yeah, because you could be late doing something else and you came on time. But anyway, we'll give some nectar tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. So if you come late, you could miss the best part of the whole workshop. Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo. Jai Prabhupada, Gauranga, Nityananda.